Hey everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 3. I'm surprised I did 3 parts, but I guess I shouldn't be. Because I always think I'm going to like squeeze in all the articles that I compile, whatever, 50, 100 they may be, into one video, and then it's 2 videos. And then, lo and behold, I'm doing 3 videos. And then I don't plan on doing 15-minute videos. I just tend to blab sometimes. But either way, I'll get to the news. We left off with this Facebook basically battling Google, basically for the internet war, internet air war, or airborne internet as they call it, using solar-powered aircraft to operate high-altitude wireless hotspots, circling in the atmosphere without refueling. So, and they make it out like Google and Facebook are nemesises, and there's many people that theorize that these may have been hatched as somehow grassroots, companies that came from these little brainchilds living in their parents' basement, whatever it's Sergey of Google or the other guys from Facebook. But and there's other people that think that they're basically came from the agencies, alphabet agencies themselves. And you have Julian Assange, again, WikiLeaks. I don't believe any of this is grassroots. This is given to us, spoon-fed, for a reason, for an agenda, to make it think like we know all the truth. Well, now we know the truth, right? Well, not really. NSA has grown to be a rogue agency. Again, like I said, they pretty much already were. And I think the bigger thing is who actually is in charge, or not in charge, but who owns, who has control over the NSA and these agencies. Is it corporate interest, or is it the AI? I said in the last end of the video, the end of the last video, I think I said NSA, Google and NSA, but it was NASA. But Google and NASA they're building the future of AI, artificial intelligence, with quantum supercomputers. So technology is technically there. They have people already uploading all of their information to Facebook voluntarily. That's why it's free. They say, oh, and it'll never cost anything. It'll always be free. But I guess it's like that one show, Person of Interest, right? The thing becomes its own, almost like a biological entity, right? Its own living thing. The supercomputer, the AI, they start making decisions. Satoshi Nakamoto, creator of Bitcoin, supposedly has done classified work for major corporations and the U.S. military. This is according to the LA Times. Again, this could be disinfo to discredit the cryptocurrency, as I call it, but I had my doubts about it to begin with, but I don't know, we'll see, right? Because they kept talking about, it's by anarchists and there'd be anonymity. Well, that's the flip side. There really isn't going to be anonymity on this new system. Banking Isn't a Wonderful Life Now is suicides sweep financial districts from March 9th. Last 2 months, there's been a rash of suicides and mysterious deaths sweeping the world of high finance. So these people are either, a little hot under the collar, a little stressed out, and decided to jump off a building or whatever, or hang themselves, or they're being pushed off the building. They said J.P. Morgan had 3. Then the CEO of First Meta, a small cyber currency exchange, jumped to her death in Singapore. It said, historically, suicide rates rise during times of financial stress and economic downturns, but stocks are at an all-time high for many Wall Street bankers. These are times of setbacks and stress, so this is going to continue as consolidation of wealth continues. Right? People just buying each other out, layoffs, do more with less. So that's what they're saying. Branch closings and more bank layoffs are leading to bankers being very stressed out. Especially as things become more digitalized. We're talking about AI and that. Remember hearing relatives talk about that. They were worried about the Board of Trade in Chicago, about the selling bonds. It would be computerized, and they were always worried about losing their jobs there, or basically not making any money. Basically being obsolete. But yeah, this is basically the managerial class, these people, and they're not needed as much. So they handle the money. especially now that it's digital. It will be shocking for the average American. Your cost of living will quadruple. So this is from the shithitthefan.plan.com, and it's a pretty decent website as far as survivalism and stuff goes. But it is semi-based in fear, which I don't really care for. Like, I want the system to kind of collapse. So, like I said, it will be shocking for the average American if the petrodollar dies and the U.S. loses its reserve currency status in the world. There will be no middle class. Well, what about the working class? What about that nice, juicy class between being poor and being middle class, right? What we've actually seen, we're talking about bankers, no longer being needed, the managerial class, because you have to think about a managerial class that manages the elite's wealth in the socio-political systems. The middle class is actually breaking. They've either gone to be truck drivers after, like I said, working in finance, high finance, and maids, or they've actually grown their own independent businesses and they think they're going to be like the elites, or they're moving up. So you have the middle class kind of moving up or dying. So, technically there won't really be a middle class. There's some people that actually blame the middle class for a lot of the problems that have happened because they've been so cozy. They've had financial ability, the financial ability to be able to cushion themselves from everything that's happening. This economic warfare and all that, to just move to somewhere else, make it better with their money, whereas poorer people that are working don't have that luxury. So, a petrodollar, well, they took the dollar off the gold standard, and that's when you had the whole oil crisis in the 70s and war going on in Iraq and stuff over oil. Then they went back to invade Iraq because they wanted to trade in euros. Libya, because they wanted to create their own gold currency. So what if the petrodollar dies? Let it die. The U.S. loses its reserve currency status. Why does it have to be a global currency, right? Well, because it's been the corporate empire right now, the leading empire. So 20 facts about the great U.S. retail apocalypse that will blow your mind. It said that the U.S. economy is getting better, then why are major retail chains closing thousands of stores? If we're truly in an economic recovery, then why do sales figures continue to go down for large retailers all over the country? Yeah, and basically what they're boiling it down to is shopping online, places like Amazon, the rising of internet retailing giants. I've actually spoke about this. There's people about this. Amazon actually replacing most retail stores will be closed. The future will go to almost all online. And if they do like little mini drones, they'd be find any way that they could deliver. But no, they'll probably still have the same, what are you going to choose, UPS or FedEx, or U.S. Postal Service, which is also a monopoly. You get a duopoly choice. It's like Idiocracy, right? You'll have this one big place location. Well, I think it was a Costco in the movie. So here's some facts here. It says here that there's 1 billion square feet of retail space sitting and vacant in the United States. Yep. There we go. Radio Shack announced that it was going to close more than 1,000 stores. Staples announced it was going to close 225 stores. To this retail space, it's like this is empty space, right? Kind of like vacant foreclosed homes. I read a story about sovereign citizens or freemen were trying to take these houses over. And it's like, well, there's nobody living in them. Why can't homeless people take them? Or, vacant space, why can't they rent it out at a real low price or do something with it, But the system doesn't work like that. Think about it, dude. You take this space, you sell it to the local government real cheap. They can actually make an indoor garden or something like that. And then you could have people that are hard on their luck, give them jobs to run it, and they can feed themselves and they can sell organic produce locally. I mean, there's things that they can do. So those that didn't make it to the upper stratosphere of the managerial class, i.e. we're talking about the middle class, and they dropped down, well, yeah, JCPenney, not as much. Sears, not as much. They closed 300 stores since 2010. Sears and JCPenney, $586 million they lost. 2013 alone in one quarter. Aeropostale, and I think American Eagle are one of those. The Gap, they've also been taking a pretty big hit. 175 stores are closing. Oh, and Macy's. And finishing up here, I got a couple more articles and a video I'll leave you with. College graduates are taking low-wage jobs, displacing less educated. I was a little shocked by this because I didn't have that same experience myself. 20-year-old high school graduate stuck in a $7.82 an hour part-time job at McDonald's because she calls a last resort because nobody would offer anything better. Then you have this 26-year-old West Virginia University graduate wants to put his history degree to use to teaching high school. What he found instead was a bartender job in New Jersey. So they said they're at opposite ends of the dynamic that's pushing those with college degrees down into competition with high school graduates for low-wage jobs that don't require college. This is part of where this global system's going to. And we all got to compete against each other. This is the way capitalism has been. We have to compete against each other. We can't ever work together at anything. And that's why you don't really have real communities. And that's why people get degrees so they can compete more, right? The golden ticket, as they call it. And so you don't find that. I tried applying to all these real low-wage jobs like this, and I never got hired. Either A, because I didn't fit the psychological profile when I did all those crappy psychological tests. I'm not a complete robot. Or I have a college degree. That's what I was told. They think I'm just going to up and walk away, because the jobs are so prevalent for journalists. I mentioned the homeless earlier. Texas cops who they do enforce the monetary system. That's what they do. They get a 3-day suspension for a contest involving stealing homeless signs. Feed me, whatever, give me money. Stealing these signs from the homeless. So they're actually having a competition of how many cardboard signs they could take away from the homeless people. Venezuela divisions are deepening as the protests over food shortages is halted. So they have food shortages. I've heard about toilet paper shortages and all kinds of crazy stuff. They actually still do this down in South America. I remember seeing this in Argentina or whatever. National Guard, they actually bang their pots and pans. The National Guards prevented empty pots march from reaching food ministry. And Hugo Chavez, the former president of Venezuela, I believe that he was actually killed with a weaponized form of cancer. He's no longer with us, but when he was alive, he was keeping a close eye on Jewish spies in Venezuela. Thank you.
In Venezuela, violent crime is prompting some of the country's citizens to seek a life abroad. The recent killing of the 2004 Miss Venezuela Monica Spear and her ex-husband in a gun attack on their car has brought into stark relief the security problems facing the country. Among those leaving in large numbers are members of Venezuela's Jewish community, who say a lack of personal security combined with growing anti-Semitism makes life in the country too hard. At home with his family in Hallandale Beach, Florida, Paul Harriton is one of about 260,000 people of Venezuelan origin in the United States. Born in Venezuela, he moved to the U.S. 12 years ago, just after Hugo Chavez returned to power following a failed coup.
I think the government is not friendly with Israel. It's not friendly to the Jewish cause.
Now living in a suburb of Miami, Harriton's an architect and property developer in the city's high-rise real estate market. Just north, the city of Aventura has become home to a growing population of Jews from Venezuela. In the 1990s, some 25,000 Jews are thought to have lived in Venezuela. Today, that number is estimated to be as small as 9,000.
It's a big loss for the country because all my friend kids who are here and going to Harvard and Yale and Stanford and they're going to be great professionals here instead of going back, as I did. I went to school in New York and I graduated and went back to Venezuela and worked there for almost 30 years. And it's lost. That won't happen again.
Pinchas Brenner used to be the chief rabbi at the largest Ashkenazi synagogue in Caracas. In that capacity, he met with some of the world's leading political and religious figures. As a series of raids on Jewish schools and synagogues added to the insecurity of the Jewish community in Caracas.
Of course, you don't know how things will develop, but there is no question that for the first time since the coming of Chavez into power, anti-Semitism has become something in Venezuela that didn't exist before.
Brenner fears a brain drain is taking place in his country as educated families leave Venezuela, while lower-skilled workers arrive.